So I'll start off. My name is Kevin Meeser. I am a faculty member in the Department of Biology. My specialty is neuroscience, and I also teach at the UW School of Medicine for half the year. I'm originally from Boston or around Boston, and I'm a huge Boston sports fan, which I know many of you probably don't like, but that's all right. We're really good. And I've been here for 6 years, and I got to tell you, I love Gonzaga. I love the people I work with, specifically David and Catherine. I work with them quite a lot, and they're just amazing folks. You'll see a lot of school spirit within the students, but also that same school spirit within the faculty and staff. And we're all Zags, and we're all excited about working here. And it's a unique thing, I feel like.
Sorry, was fumbling for the mute button there. Hi, my name is David Thorpe. I'm currently the chair of the Department of Human Physiology, and I'm a member of the Committee on Health Science Careers as well. I have a little visitor here. It's around dinner time, I think. This is what happens when you work from home during a crisis. I'm originally from Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. So I'm the token Canadian in the group, although we did just hire another Canadian for our department next year. In a stereotypically Canadian fashion, a fun fact about me is I am an amateur Stanley Cup historian. I do give an annual historical lecture on the Stanley Cup that my students get a great kick out of. My fun story is that this is my 13th year here at GU, and simple rule of thumb at GU is just to agree with everything Kevin says. He's always right. He also put the slides together.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Catherine Brackman. I work in our Career and Professional Development office on campus, and I work specifically with students who are thinking about graduate or professional school, which definitely includes our pre-health students on campus. Kevin apparently left. Kevin doesn't really care where I'm from. I guess he left it off. But
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm from the greater Seattle area. I also went to Gonzaga. I graduated about 10 years ago and have been back working here for 3 years come this summer. I think we had a sports theme going on here. I'm a huge Green Bay Packers fan. I'm actually part owner because you can buy shares. It's a publicly traded team, so it's not that I'm super wealthy. I just am a huge fan. I also co-chair the Committee on Health Science Careers with Kevin. And yeah, I think I agree with the first part of what you put, that it's been interesting. Don't know if it's quite like working as a nanny, but I don't know. I'm going to have to marinate on that a little bit.
I was trying to be self-deprecating in that sense, you know.
But yeah, that's the three of us, and then let's let the students, our student ambassadors who are on with us, introduce themselves as well.
Hi, my name's Claire. I am a junior at Gonzaga studying human physiology, and I am on the pre-med track.
And hi, my name is Cameron. I am a senior biology major with minors in international relations and leadership studies. And I'm also on the pre-med track. I'm going to take a couple gap years, but hopefully get rolling on that at some point.
And when we get to questions at the end of the session, you can direct any of your questions to the students, and we'll also try to, if we think the question is great for the students to share their perspective, we'll let them do that. And we'll also have a little bit of time for them to share how they found support at the university. So one of the first questions that we kind of get from parents and from students who are looking to come to Gonzaga is, why Gonzaga and why would I study health sciences, and can I be successful as a health science student at Gonzaga? And the answer is yes, and I think we're a great place to study pre-health or be health sciences. Part of it is because we know from talking to medical schools, vet schools, PT programs, OT programs, we know that they're looking for well-rounded candidates. So not just candidates that do well in their classes and not just well in their science classes, but they're looking for students who have a diverse portfolio of things that they're engaged in and things that they've learned about in their classes. And so we provide a liberal arts education, and we think we do a pretty good job at that. Our students are taking classes in philosophy and ethics, religion, social sciences, and often they're not just taking those classes, which you can find at maybe any university. They're actually integrating the knowledge from those classes. All of our students have to take a core integration seminar towards their senior year, and that really says, okay, we're going to look at one subject and we're going to look at the perspective of all the classes that you've taken. Our first year students also take a similar type class where it's on one subject, but they look at it through a lot of different dimensions. And I can tell you, as someone who teaches at the medical school, when we start to engage our medical school students in conversations that go beyond medicine, but maybe the social determinants of health, the Gonzaga students who happen to be at UW and are in that classroom, they have no problem talking about those types of things because they're so used to doing that within their undergraduate education. Another thing is our Jesuit values. So if you look at the mission statement of any medical school or any health career program, it's going to mirror what we say in our values at Gonzaga. You know, we are looking to serve the greater humanity. We are learning about, you know, how we can make people feel special, how we can elevate people in our society. And medical schools and other other health science career programs are looking to do the same exact thing. They're caring for all the individuals in their community. And then another great opportunity for our students is service. It is the #1 thing that, you know, we think about at Gonzaga. We have humongous amount of resources that go to service. I think, you know, they always do rankings of schools, and we're up there in how many hours of service our students do if we're not #1. And so we have a lot of opportunities. If our students are in a student club, they're required to do service. If they're an athlete, they're required to do service. It is very difficult to find any student at Gonzaga that hasn't served their community in some sort of fashion. And most of them do a lot of it. They spend a lot of their time. Sometimes as faculty members, we wish they would spend a little bit more time on their classes than serving others. But it's a great problem to kind of have. Also, it's a small school, and so we have small class sizes. The largest class that any of our students will probably take, especially as pre-health students, is maybe a 50-person intro to bio class. The rest of their classes are going to start to go down from there. So I have classes that I teach that can be anywhere from 10 to 20 something students. So there is no place to hide from your faculty. They're going to get to know you really well. And one of the great things about Gonzaga is, because our faculty get to know our students really well, and our students get to know the faculty really well, is that we can help them be successful academically, but also in their other pursuits and just in life in general. So we can usually see when our students are struggling, not just with their academics, but also with other things. And we know to reach out to them. And so we just have a great relationship, and it's very close. So if you're a student who is looking to hide away from your faculty in some back corner, it's just not going to happen. We don't even have rooms that are large enough to be able to do that. So, and we consider it a real benefit to our pre-health students because we can help them be successful academically and also in their outside pursuits in obtaining their degree in some sort of health sciences. And also Spokane, this is a hidden gem for healthcare. Our #1 industry is healthcare. We have 5 hospitals, 2 medical schools. Every other kind of healthcare program you can think of is within the city limits. And we are just a major healthcare hub for the residents and the communities around Spokane. You don't get a larger healthcare hub going east until you get to Minneapolis. So there are a lot of people that consider this the place that they will go to find at least their advanced healthcare. So it provides a lot of opportunities for our students in terms of internships, shadowing opportunities, mentorship opportunities. And so it's something we take a lot of advantage of, and our students have a lot of opportunities with that as well. I'm going to move on to our health science core competencies, and I'm going to let Catherine talk about these for a little bit.
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. So one question that we get a lot from prospective students or current students is, what are medical schools looking for? What are physical therapy schools looking for? What do I need to be working on, in preparation to apply and hopefully be accepted? And what we've done is created these 6 core competencies. And these are, qualities, skills that we think Gonzaga pre-health students can and should be developing during their time here. And what we've done is we have taken what we are hearing from those programs, those professional programs, and what they're looking for in a lot of their core competencies, and actually applied it to Gonzaga's mission statement and kind of blended those together and come up with these 6. And really thinking about what is going to help me get into a program, but more importantly, how can I develop the qualities that's going to make me a really good healthcare provider eventually? Because that's what schools are looking for. So a lot of these things, thinking about examples to go through some of them. So effective communication. That's going to be really important because as a future healthcare provider down the road, you're going to need to be able to communicate well with patients and other providers on the healthcare team. So what are you doing now in terms of communicating with your professors and your classmates, with, prospective employers if you're trying to get an internship? Cultivation of collaborative networks, that can come in a lot of different ways. Maybe you have a part-time job on campus and you show up every day and are super responsible, you're really reliable and dependable, and you're also working on those social skills. Maybe you are a member of a club sports team at Gonzaga and you're developing those teamwork skills, or you are really good at working on group projects with others. The inclusive and ethical service to others, I think that relates really well to what Kevin was talking about, service being such a priority and focus and interest for our students. So thinking about all the opportunities to get involved at Gonzaga or in the Spokane community. This reflective commitment to growth is something that is important as well. So how are our pre-health students stretching themselves and working on things that maybe they're not as good at, but seeking out opportunities, whether that's, taking a tough upper division class that's going to expand their knowledge in some area, or, learning a new skill that they've never tried before. The critical thought and creative inquiry comes in definitely in the classroom. So that's everything from those science-based classes to the core curriculum. So your philosophy classes that are teaching you, critical thinking and how to break apart an argument and how to communicate your thoughts. But it also could include things like research and kind of working on problem solving through that way. And then finally, this integration of science, healthcare, and behavior. So that's really kind of getting into the field of healthcare a little bit more. As Kevin mentioned, Spokane is a great healthcare hub. So there are a lot of opportunities for our students to connect with professionals, whether that's through job shadowing or volunteering at a hospital, or of the many clinics in the area, but kind of how are you taking what you're learning in the classroom and applying that somehow to the healthcare profession as you think about getting ready for a career in that field down the road. So again, these are a little bit later in the presentation, we'll go into kind of some more, what classes do you need to take? What do you need? But we think that our pre-health students that are working toward these core competencies are doing well and will be really successful.
Thanks, Catherine. One of the questions we get asked a lot from prospective students interested in careers in health sciences, what should my major be? And the answer to that is anything you want. and so there is no pre-med or pre-PT or pre-dentistry major on campus, nor are there any prescribed tracks. And so the reality is you can go into a variety of careers in health sciences from any different major on campus. Now, there's always going to be a set of core requirements for each program you may choose to apply to postgraduate. And so it's really important that you keep an eye on those requirements and use your electives wisely and pick courses that are required to meet those requirements. But you can do so from any major. And these professional programs, They want to admit individuals. They want to know you as a person, and they want you to, well, like I say, they want you to be an individual. And so if we admit everybody into a pre-med program and it's basically a biology curriculum and everybody does the same thing, it's very difficult to illustrate how your approach would be different than somebody else's. And so there's a lot of value in attracting students from different majors. Now, of course, you do need to take a set of prescribed courses for these programs, and we'll talk about them in a second. But the most important thing is determining what you're passionate about and choosing a major that answers to that passion. And one of the beauties of Gonzaga is, with the exception of a very few programs, and I think the only two programs that are not included in this list are engineering and nursing, students can change major pretty much anytime they want. Now, if you change major late in your progression, it can make graduation a little bit difficult. Well, not difficult, but just difficult to be done on time if you, say, do a late stream change of major and you have to get caught up. But that freedom to change majors and explore your interests and really find your passion is one of the beauties of an undergraduate education at Gonzaga. Now, of course, there is going to be a list of required courses, like I said, and that science and math GPA is always going to be important. And so it's important that you do well in those courses, but it's not the be all end all for admissions to these programs. And so if you look at the list of courses that are up there now, these are some general requirements. It's important to point out that depending on what you're looking to apply to, if it's OT or PT or pre-med or pre-dent, they're all going to have slightly different requirements for admissions, but most of them will have a list that looks something like this. And so pretty safe bet that a full year of biology would be required, generally a full year of English, and at least a semester math, often calculus. Physics is required for most, and the chemistry requirements will vary a little bit more from program to program, but sometimes it's 2 years of chemistry, sometimes it's 3 semesters, sometimes it's 5 semesters. And then there's some additional courses that might be required depending on whatever unique program you're looking to apply to, and there's a list there. And so the point of all that is to illustrate that you can get these courses from any different major. There is no one major that will capture all of these courses. So regardless of what you pick as a major, you're going to have to plan accordingly to whatever your career aspirations might be and take the courses from this list that fit to the program you're going to apply to. And there's a lot of mechanisms to help guide you with that. A great resource for students interested in medical education is the medical school admissions requirement booklet. It's got all of the programs in the country, all their requirements. It's got average GPAs, average MCAT scores for first year medical students who they've admitted. And so it's a tremendous resource. All of the programs have professional organizations, and on their professional organizations have links to information for students with all just endless resources for programs and requirements. And so students and their advisors and our advisor and in our advisory role as the Career for Health Science Committee will help students navigate that and make sure they put a list of courses together and an academic plan that will meet those requirements. I did have one more thing to mention on that last slide, Kevin, but you don't have to go back. I feel very official. Next slide, please. I've been waiting to do a presentation where I had someone advance my slides my whole career. I finally made it. One last thing about course requirements, and it kind of relates to what Kevin has said and what Catherine has said about the core competencies. One of the things I think is most unique about students graduating from Gonzaga into careers in the health science is our core curriculum. And you're never going to find our core curriculum listed as required for medical school. But if you look at those core competencies, the core curriculum at GU that every student must take before they graduate will help develop all of those competencies. There's a lot of opportunity for really deep intellectual growth in the core. Not that there isn't in the science programs, but a lot of those core classes really help enlighten students in that regard. And so I might be just a little bit biased, but I think a Jesuit liberal arts education is probably the best undergraduate education to prepare students for careers in health science. Next slide, please. So this is an opportunity for me to make a bit of a shameless plug for our program. And so there's some other academic sessions, and some of you may have come from the arts and science academic session where there's some opportunity to discuss some specific majors. This is the only opportunity really to discuss human physiology. And so there might be some folks out there who are interested in our degree program. So just a quick chance to give you some information about our program. Our program is fairly unique. There are not a lot of undergraduate physiology programs in the nation, fewer still that focus particularly on the human. And so there are only 3 or 4 human physiology proper degrees in the nation. And there's only one at a liberal arts undergraduate, primarily undergraduate institution, and that's us. And so it does make us a little bit unique on the greater landscape, and it also makes us a little bit unique at Gonzaga. And so really our goal is to examine one organism, the human, and examine in very great detail. And so we study the human function, form and function over our 4 years at all levels of the hierarchy through a number of different courses, obviously, and lab experiences. And if you look at the second bullet on that list or on the slide here, you see that really what our main objectives are. And the wording here is taken directly from our outcomes assessment document, where we really try to outline our learning objectives for our students. And really what we want to do is help students develop analytical and critical thinking skills. And we do that through a number of exercises, but one of our main focuses is research. And so our students get a really deep understanding of scientific principles and the research process. And ultimately, the goal is to have students communicate that knowledge. And often it's at a conference, a professional conference before they graduate. And that list there isn't necessarily unique to human physiology. In fact, most programs at Gonzaga will develop those skills. We just do it in the context of studying human physiology, of course. But one of the things that is a little bit unique about our program is the diversity of interest of our students. Now, almost all of our students are interested in careers in health science, but there are so many different career interests among them that our advising has been, really does cover all bases. You know, we have students who are interested in careers as physicians or physical therapists or occupational therapists. A lot of students thinking about PA. Some do accelerated Bachelor of Science in Nursing after graduation. We have a number of students who go into academic research, so traditional master's and PhD. We have students who go into industry research. We've had students work at Microsoft developing wearable technologies. We've had students go to Nike and Brooks and Under Armour in terms of product development. And so we have a lot of diversity in our student body in terms of what they're looking to do. And so I think we have a lot of insight to help them get there. I think. I'm a little biased in saying that, I guess.
Okay, so we've kind of gone, pretty big picture. Why Gonzaga, these core competencies. We've talked about academics. Kind of what else do you need to be thinking about when it comes time to thinking about a career in the health sciences? So eventually, to get into some sort of graduate or professional level program, some sort of standardized exam. So whether that's the MCAT, which is very medical school specific, or the GRE, which tends to cover a lot of different type of programs, that might be in the future down the road. But a couple of the things that, again, tie back a little bit to those core competencies, but are things that we see Gonzaga students be really, really strong at developing is leadership and service skills. So there are a lot of opportunities to develop those. We've got, I don't even know how many clubs on campus, but it's probably hundreds. And so in a variety of interests, so great opportunities to develop leadership skills, and then service, which we've again talked about a lot, but students that are thinking about going into the health sciences or healthcare, really that's serving others. And so developing that, passion and intentionality to want to serve others is another thing that Gonzaga students do a lot and helps them be really successful when it comes to applying to programs. The other thing to really think about is clinical experience, and an example of that is shadowing. So going and seeing a physician or a physical therapist or whatever profession you're interested in, and kind of seeing what their day-to-day looks like. But getting clinical experience is really important, because for you to think about, what it looks like to do that work on a day-to-day basis, and is that something that you want to do? So kind of being able to see, the good, bad, and the ugly of those professions in a real setting. is really important. And when you're applying to programs, they want to know that you've taken the time to figure out, is this the path for you? So I mentioned shadowing as kind of a way to get that real insight and experience and learn from professionals. You know, that can also take the form of volunteering. So we have a lot of students that might volunteer at a hospital in Spokane. Again, we mentioned there are a lot of opportunities to do that in the city. So volunteering, shadowing, you know, maybe getting some sort of clinical research or internship experience. But those are some of the other things to think about in addition to the academics as part of your pre-health sciences or pre-health experience. Just wanted to go over, there are so many resources on campus to support you in a variety of ways. And kind of thinking about, you know, the health sciences and pre-health, we've got the Committee on Health Science Careers, which all three of us, Kevin, David, and myself, are members of, and that group is really focused on providing pre-health advising, the Writing Center, academic advising and assistance, and faculty advisors as well. So you're going to have a faculty member who's going to be, you know, guiding you through your time at Gonzaga, not just in terms of, you know, figuring out what classes I'm going to take and how to put together a four-year plan, but as some of the things that Dave mentioned, you know, figuring out what do I do after, and really having a close mentoring relationship with your faculty advisors is something that's really special at Gonzaga. My office, career and professional development. So we help students kind of with the application process to graduate or professional school, if that's the path that you ultimately decide to take. So things like writing a personal statement, mock interviews, but also, you know, how to get the experience as an undergrad. So, you know, can you help me find research opportunities, maybe volunteer roles, part-time jobs? We can help with that. The Center for Community Engagement is our service hub on campus, and they have a tremendous number of programs that you can, you know, just join something that office is already putting on. But if you've got your own ideas, they're also really great at connecting you with organizations in the community that could use your help. The Comprehensive Leadership Program is another cool program at Gonzaga for developing those leadership skills. Again, those are a couple of the things that our students tend to do really well, is develop leadership and service skills. And then we also have, as I mentioned, so many different clubs on campus. These are, you know, 4 that are really focused on the health sciences, but they are doing a lot of really cool programming as well. They're bringing in panels of healthcare professionals or, you know, industry professionals to talk about their experiences. Oftentimes they're bringing back alumni, which is really great to kind of get that story of how they use their Gonzaga experience to get to where they're at now. They're also doing really cool, you know, social justice programs. So talking about, you know, social determinants of health and inequities that are related to healthcare access. So a lot of really exciting things going on in terms of opportunities, but also support for our pre-health community at Gonzaga. And then just to talk about the Committee on Health Science Careers again here for a minute. Again, Kevin and I co-chair this, Dave is on this as well, and we have several other faculty and staff on campus that are from a wide variety of departments, and they are really focused on helping pre-health students. This comes in, you know, just advising and programming. We also communicate with admissions representatives at the different graduate and professional programs that our students go on to. So kind of getting their perspective and communicating, you know, what our students are doing. But also we put together a comprehensive letter of recommendation that's on behalf of the university for our students who are applying to those healthcare programs. And, you know, that happens at the kind of at the end of a student's time at Gonzaga, or maybe even after if they're taking, you know, a gap year or two. But what we try and do in that process as well is it's really intentional. We try and set it up to mirror the application process that the students will be experiencing. So we have them work on, you know, reflection and thinking about what they're going to write about in their personal statement. We do a mock interview with them. But all of these people that are on this committee, as you'll see, they come from a wide variety of departments, which is really exciting and reflective, I think, of Gonzaga's, you know, interdisciplinary partnerships on campus. But all these people are really passionate and excited about helping our pre-health students be successful. And I think that's something that is special about Gonzaga.
So I just want to take just a few minutes to highlight the UW School of Medicine GU Regional Health Partnership. We always kind of get questions about that. This is something that both David and I have participated in. As GU faculty members, we have taught medical school students different subjects. In fact, I spend half my year actually teaching first and second year medical students. It has been a tremendous resource for us in the past few years because we have 121st and second year medical students who are on campus. So they are sharing, you know, the physical space with our students. They're going to the coffee shops, they're using our study rooms, our libraries. They're getting to know our undergraduate students. We also have 31 PA students who are on campus. So all these students are in the Schoenberg Center right now. We're currently building a new facility that's going to house all the med students, the PA students, and also our human physiology department. So we're really excited about that opportunity. And what we get from this partnership is we get access. We get access to physicians, we get access to medical students, PA students. Oftentimes the medical students are putting on programs for our students like student panels. And these medical students actually have friends in other programs, not just medical school, around Spokane. Sometimes they're actually roommates with people who are in different programs. And they're really cognizant of making sure that they're not just highlighting the reasons to go to medical school, but letting our students discern what kind of health career is appropriate for them or would suit them best. We have them participate in mentorship. So oftentimes a medical student will sponsor a senior student that are pre-health at Gonzaga and offer them advice about how to apply to school, how to be the best candidate for medical school or whatever program that they're interested in. We're really thankful to our partnership with their underrepresented in medicine club. These students, these medical students, provide opportunities for our underrepresented students to get advanced mentorship in how to be a good applicant, how to tell your story, how to use the right resources, really hoping to create a more diverse atmosphere in healthcare. Also partnerships with Health Equity Circle, and I have an outreach organization that does neuroscience outreach in the community. And so our students are engaged in service in both of these opportunities and also on their own. And so medical students are collaborating with undergraduate students in service opportunities. Also, one of the great resources we have from this is we have professionals that are giving talks on our campus. So whether this be eminent physicians, scientists who are talking about big picture issues like the opioid epidemic, or just from UW faculty who are physicians who are coming to give guest lectures in our classes. Also, we're benefiting because some of the GU faculty are teaching medical students. And so we get an opportunity to see what it's like to be in a medical school classroom, how students find success, and we get to bring that advice back to our students. And some of the cool opportunities that have happened recently is that I've actually been able to partner with the UW neuroanatomist who has come into my neurophysiology lab, and we've been able to use human specimens with our students. And so we have such small classes that this provides a really unique opportunity for our students. I have a lab that's either 7 or 10 students, and it has 2 of us in there with PhDs in neuroscience, working with them using the same techniques that we use with the medical students and using human specimens. And it's really an opportunity you just don't find at very many other schools. And so we take full advantage of this partnership, and it's really been a boon to our pre-health students. Like I had mentioned previously, I'm not going to go through all of these, but pretty much any career in healthcare that has a professional degree, you're going to find that degree program somewhere in Spokane, whether it be at Eastern Washington, WSU, Gonzaga, Whitworth University. We cover every single program that you can imagine. The only program that's not in Spokane is a veterinary program, which is just down the road in Pullman. But everything else you can find here. And these students are often, presenting to our students, developing mentoring relationships. So we have a lot of access to these programs for our pre-health students, and we're very proud of that. So now I think it's time to take questions. If you don't have time to get your question answered, I want to encourage you, reach out to myself, Dr. Thorpe, Catherine, or you can just send questions to hsc@gonzaga.edu. We spend a lot of time answering questions of prospective students. So don't be afraid if your question doesn't get answered to just reach out to us. And so I will turn it over to Rod, who will manage the questions.
Perfect. Great presentation. Thanks for that, guys. But for the students who are watching, feel free to message your questions through the chat function on this Zoom. We have about 7 minutes before this Zoom meeting is over. And then after that, you're more than welcome to join the student panel at 2:30, where they'll be able to just pick some students' brain, current students, a little Q&A session with them.
Can I jump in real quick? I had a question, and I know we talked a little bit about research throughout, but I had someone ask a question about research opportunities as an undergrad at GU. So Kevin and or Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yep, so real quick, our students have lots of opportunities to do research depending on what your major is. The human physiology department, it's actually part of their curriculum. So if you're in that major, you will spend a significant time in classes doing authentic, real research. It's a great opportunity that those students have. In our traditional kind of sciences like biology and chemistry and physics, all of our faculty do research, and there's opportunities within the summer and also during the school year. I've never met a student who wanted to engage in research that's ever been turned down at GU. And a lot of our students are either getting class credit or they're getting actually paid to do the research. We just have a unique opportunity here, and we have the funding to allow that to happen. And then many of our students actually will go to other universities, sometimes large research universities, to get like an R1 kind of research experience, either during the summer or because of WSU being right across the river, they'll go across the river and they'll spend their year doing research there. And so we love to say that we have the benefit of being a small liberal arts school, but then the opportunity to do really big research. So especially if you want to get that large school research experience and go to WSU, you get to have that experience, but yet still have small classes at GU. If you want to work in a smaller research environment, you can stay and do your research at GU. Some of the professors are doing some cutting edge, pretty amazing things. So there's plenty of opportunities to do research at GU.
Perfect. And then what major would you recommend for someone who's pursuing forensic pathology?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think the philosophy would still be the same, that you could do that from any major. Now, what you would have to do is look at programs and say, what are the prereqs that I would have to get done, right? So it's just like Dr. Thorpe was talking about in terms of, like, a lot of people think that if I'm going into med school or something, I have to be a science major, which isn't true. These programs want you to get a certain curriculum of classes done, but then past that, they don't care what your major is. And I would guess the same thing for forensics. I can't imagine that if I went on to one of those graduate program websites, that they would say, you have to be a biology major or you have to be a chemistry major. And the reason why I would say that is because I think a lot of people would choose that profession a little bit later in their career. And I don't think the schools would want to hold students to, you have to know from day one that you want to go into forensics. So I don't think there is a major that's probably appropriate. I would say that we definitely provide the education for you to get into those programs, because I know students who have gotten into those programs. But I don't think there has to be a certain major.
And then David, got a question for you. Students concerned about the workload of a possible human phys major paired up with a minor in criminology, and your thoughts.
Shouldn't be an issue. I don't know off the top of my head what the credit load for the minor in criminology is. I would guess it's probably in the neighborhood of 20 to 23 or something like that. Pretty easy to fit in. If you want to do a minor and also try to tackle some of the pre-med requirements, things get a little bit more condensed, but still doable. If a student has a number of different interests, so sometimes you have students who do 2 minors or do all the pre-med requirements along with a minor, we can use summer strategically, pick a couple courses and do them in the summer. But there's a lot of electives built into our program that students can use for any number of reasons. And so as long as you think about it and do a little bit of pre-planning, it's pretty easy to fit in 1, sometimes even 2 minors. So I don't see it as an issue.
And just to add to this, Catherine talked about faculty advisors. Every one of our students has a faculty advisor, and before they register for classes every semester that they're here at Gonzaga, they need to meet with that faculty member. And we're often coming up or revising their 4-year plan. So students aren't alone in trying to figure out how to do this. We are working with them every semester. So it's probably one of the advantages that we didn't really talk about, but at Gonzaga, you will always be registering with advice, never on your own.
Do first-year students of the major of human phys actually take any human phys classes during the first year / semester of their time at GU?
They don't. And so we used to have a 100 level course, but what we've decided to do is to basically get rid of it to increase the number of elective credits we have. One of the issues with our first year is students need to take, of course, some foundational courses in biology, chemistry, mathematics. Some of our students opt to take physics as freshmen as well. And then we also need students to take some of the core classes, so English, English Lit, philosophy, communications, maybe a religion class. So when you add those all up, there isn't a lot of room left in freshman year. And so perhaps if we weren't at a liberal arts institution and didn't have the core requirements as well, we might continue to do that freshman level class. But it was a course that we didn't feel was really serving our majors. It was complicating the first year schedule. And so we've decided to forego it. And so you get into the human physiology courses as a sophomore after a first year basis in the foundational sciences.
And then can you elaborate on how to pursue a BSN for a student who wants to go to medical school now, but 4 years down the road maybe decides they no longer want to? Recommendations for that and how the process for obtaining a BSN, would it take additional 4 years, etc.?
Yeah, I can tackle that one too. A lot of our students do accelerated, the human physiology students do accelerated Bachelor of Science nursings after graduation. There are a number of different routes to a career in nursing after an undergrad. So you could finish your degree, 4-year degree, and then do an accelerated BSN, and those programs are 12 to 18 months. And if you're really gung-ho, you can usually start them in June, right after graduation. And it's a pretty simple process. Really what an accelerated BSN program looks like is junior and senior year of an undergraduate program. And so as long as you've got first and second year courses done, you're usually eligible to apply to those programs. The other route, if say after 2 years you decided it was BSN you wanted to do, you could apply to a junior admit BSN program. And so many BSN programs in the nation have a 3rd year application instead of a freshman year application. And so you could go that route. Another potential route is you could do direct entry into a nurse practitioner program. And so there are a number of direct entry nurse practitioner programs showing up. So the options for a career in nursing after any degree really, but certainly human physiology it's become pretty popular, are pretty varied.
And I know we've actually run out of time. I just want to give a minute to our students to talk about what they found particularly supportive in their careers, just because our students are our focus. So they're actually the most important speakers who haven't had a chance to really say anything.
There we go. I was having a hard time finding that unmute button. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Being supported at Gonzaga, I believe, is something that happens naturally. I feel as though every student I've been in contact with, including myself, feels supported in their major, regardless of what path they chose or what major they're in. Regarding feeling supported in human physiology, it is a fairly small major people-wise, And I have felt an abundance of support from my professors and my peers. We're a pretty tight-knit bunch, at least students-wise. So if I, have questions, I'm able to ask my peers, I'm able to ask my professors. I have professors reach out to me without reaching out to them regarding my overall well-being, not just academically. And overall, I have never not felt supported within my academic pursuits.
Yeah, and just really quickly to kind of go off of that, one area I have found support is through my faculty mentor that I did research with the summer after my sophomore year. I didn't expect to do research in my undergrad experience, but it ended up working out that way, and I'm really appreciative to have that faculty member who has really served as a mentor for me and someone I've been able to kind of work through post-grad plans with. So that's just one of the areas that I have found support.
Perfect. Thank you all for joining. For those of you students who had left unanswered questions, feel free, as Kevin mentioned, to reach out through email. Hopefully you can get those questions answered down the line. But this Zoom meeting has concluded. Feel free to jump out and then join our student panel that is started at 2:30. Thank you for stopping by.